So it is no secret that the Edmonton Oilers are obviously looking for defensive options and defensive help. And an article by Jim Matheson has kind of lit some speculation about the Edmonton Oilers and a potential trade between the Columbus Blue Jackets about a Ivan Provorov deal. Now, I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. I mean, Edmonton has had a weird start. Edmonton always has a strange start to the season. Even last year, they had a terrible start to the season, but then they went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, which was pretty damn good for them. I did not think that was going to happen. But I actually have been a person that always likes Ivan Provorov. I'm certainly not the type of person that sits here and overrates him. I think that he is a good, second pair type guy. And what I mean by that is he's a second pair type guy in the way that, he might not be able to play, upwards minutes. He can't offer the biggest point totals. But if you can play second pair minutes and you can offer that type of value, you're just going to be a second pair defenseman. Now, the Edmonton Oilers for a while have obviously been looking for a defensive target. Now, Ivan Provorov does not shoot right. I might want a defenseman that shoots right and can play both sides. That would probably be pretty nice. But alas. Listen, the Edmonton Oilers need a defenseman. That's just a fact. Now, I honestly do think that the Edmonton Oilers would have to give up a lot more than you think for Ivan Provorov. It's weird. He isn't the type of high-end defenseman that's going to score you 50, 60, 70 points every single year. But if you actually look at Ivan Provorov's average time on ice, he gets played a lot out there. He gets played a lot. And if you get played 23, 24 minutes a night like he generally does, you're playing against pretty good players. So we do have a pretty good defenseman on our hands, and I would love to see the Edmonton Oilers go after him. But it also depends on what you would have to give up, right? I'm not really sure. The Edmonton Oilers would probably have to give up some picks or a top-level prospect or a roster player or something like that. I'm not really sure that they even have the assets to acquire a player like this, but it is what it is. Now, the one thing that I will say is it looks, at least right now, that the Edmonton Oilers had a top four defenseman in Broberg. He's had a really, really, really good start for the St. Louis Blues. And they got him for a pretty reasonable contract. Now, I know you're about to say, well, they were in cap trouble and they might have needed to move things around at that point, which I actually agree with. But I would have liked them to find a way to have kept him. He was obviously pretty good, and it's unfortunate that I love seeing offer sheets, by the way. I'm not anti-offer sheet, but I would have liked them to figure out a way to keep him. Trade another player, figure something else out. I don't know. Maybe they could have found some place for Evander Kane or something like that. I'm not saying Evander Kane's a bad player, but I would have liked them to make a move like that because if you have a young player with promise, you at least want to give them a chance to show what they can actually do in the league. And this is a difficult part for me where I'm like, dude, look at how good Broberg's doing. You could have just kept them. And now the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to potentially get rid of assets to acquire another defenseman, which I'm sorry, that would frustrate me if I was an Oilers fan, in my opinion. But alas, whatever. And here's the thing, like I said before, if you get a defenseman that can play that many minutes, you are going to have to pay and pay big. Like I said before, the Columbus Blue Jackets aren't just going to give you Ivan Provorov. They're going to want something substantial back for that. Which is it almost just confuses me. Why didn't you just make a trade to fit him under the cap, figure it out? You know what I mean? Somebody probably would have taken Kane. It doesn't have to be Kane. Pick your player that's making any type of money. Broberg didn't get that much. You could have figured out a way to keep him. And it is obviously frustrating for Edmonton Oilers fans that he is having so much success and they just don't really have a defenseman. They desperately need one now. You also have McDavid that's injured, so the team is going to have to stay afloat during the time that he is injured. Now they do have Draisaitl, and they're still a pretty good team without McDavid, I think. You know what I mean? They're not a trash team with him, but they're an elite team with McDavid. They're elite with McDavid, right? And Matheson isn't the only one saying the Edmonton Oilers are looking for a defenseman. We got Drager who says that they are, quote, aggressively going after a defenseman. I love this. So it's building up, it's building up, it's building up. It's the same thing as like Liljegren or Nick Robertson. Like, I'm sorry, I will bet you $1 million that Nick Robertson will not be a Maple Leaf this time next year. When there's this much smoke, you know there's going to be fire. You know the Edmonton Oilers are going to be looking for a defenseman and a top 4 one. So this is obviously exciting. It's just that, like, it's just funny that they I mean, essentially the St. Louis Blues made a really good choice there. It seems that they had a top 6 forward, and, you know, it is what it is, but whatever. I mean, again, here's the thing. The same thing could happen with Timothy Liljegren, though, right? It's possible. I mean, it's less likely. I think Broberg is better than Liljegren, in my opinion, but it's possible that the Leafs trade that you just recently saw with Liljegren, that could come back to bite the Leafs. There's a 10, maybe a 15, maybe a 20% chance that he just breaks out. Maybe he's their Anton Strawman or something like that, so you got to be careful. Man, it would be so much easier if we could all tell the future, wouldn't it? Now, don't get me wrong, though, that Provorov is making like $6.750 million, so that's a huge cap hit. So they would, like I said, they would have to move somebody out. I mean, Evander Kane, like, he got a surgery. Obviously, he's progressing pretty well, apparently, I heard. But, you know, you're going to have to move some money out to make this trade happen. Like, that's just a fact. So pick your poison. You could pick Evander Kane. You know what I mean? You have to move some type of player out. Like, I very much doubt they would want to move out Arvidsson. I mean, you know, there are players, but a lot of their players that are making money are pretty useful. So that's why I keep on going back to Kane. Like, it's not that he's a horrible player. It's just that, like, you might be able to move him once he starts to get healthy. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to have to just move somebody out, right? So you can pick your poison. Drop it in the comments below. Anyways, I am going to leave this video there. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And have a good day, guys. Goodbye.